Okay, so today we are going to talk about string manipulation. But before we discuss string manipulation, we need to look at what are strings. So till now we have studied different data types, which includes integers, Boolean. So integer is a value that can be between 0 till infinity, okay, but it does not include any decimal point values. Boolean data type is a data type that can only hold two values, which is either true or false. Then we have character. So character is a data type that can only hold one character. So always remember that a character data type is always represented using single inverted commas, okay? Not double inverted commas, single inverted commas. This can be different for different programming languages, but we are talking about pseudocodes here. So in pseudocodes, a character is represented by only one inverted comma, okay? So it can be A, B, or any other alphanumeric character. Or even if I write one here with these inverted commas, then this one is going to be considered as a character and not an integer because of these inverted commas. So now let's look at what are strings. Strings are basically combination of these characters. For example, this A here was a separate character, but right now if I combine this A with other separate characters, let's just say I'm writing apple here. So A is a separate character, then P is a separate character, again P is a separate character, then L, E, these are all separate characters. But if I concatenate them and if I write them together like this and add two inverted commas, double inverted commas here, then this will make a string, okay? So strings are basically combination of characters. It can be anything like our passwords or email addresses, everything that like every character, if we combine it into a sentence, it will form a string. So this string can have only alphabets, it can have alphabet and numbers, then it can have alphabet, numbers, and alphanumeric characters, and so on. So basically, a string is just a combination of different characters. So now we have discussed what are strings. Now let's see how can we manipulate string. What is meant by string manipulation? So in pseudocode or in programming, what we are going to do is that we'll be given a string, a combination of strings, and they might ask us to find out a certain character from this string. So string manipulation can be can include searching for a special character, or it can also include making a new string from certain characters, or basically it can also include uh, clipping a part of the string and give showing that as an output. So it can have multiple scenarios. So the first scenario we are going to discuss is searching for a special character. Searching. So for example, the user has entered a word E, a character E, and the user wants to check whether this character E exists in the string that is already stored in the variable this string. So right now we have a variable this string which includes, this is just an example. The string can have any string stored in it, but just to give an idea, I am going to store a temporary string here. So that string can be this is a tree. And the user wants to see if the character E exists in this string that is already stored in the variable this string. Okay, so if we look at the string visually, we can automatically see that there are two e's present. So whatever pseudocode that we are writing should give us an output that yes, the letter e is present in this string, and it occurs two times because there are two e's here. So for this is like a general observation, right? I'm just giving you an example by looking at the sentence. Yes, I know that E exists, but how are we going to check for this letter? I cannot just write that if E equals this string. This line here will be wrong, will be considered wrong. Why? Because E and this string, because in this string, the string stored is called, this is a string, right, with double inverted commas. So E is a character, and this string here is a string because there's a string stored in it. And these two are two different data types. We can never compare two different data types with each other. That is going to give us an error in any programming language, okay? We cannot compare character with a string or character with an integer or integer with a real value. We need to make sure that the two values that we are comparing are both in the same data types. So now, what are we going to do? We need to see that whether E exists in this string or not. So for that, we need to extract this string character by character, because this string is a combination of characters, right? T is a separate character, H is a separate character, I is a separate character, and S is a separate character. Again, we will be considering spaces here. So T, if I need to compare E here, I need to extract this T first. This T is present at the first index, H is on the second index, I third, S four, and then this space here is 5, and so on. So basically, these the characters in the string, each character in the string can be given an index value like we do in arrays. So every character has a place, has an index value. For example, if I want to extract S, I need to look at index number 4. So I can extract S. T is on index number 1. So in pseudocodes, the index values start from 1. But if we are talking about any particular programming language like Visual Basic or Python, the index values will be starting from 0. So in pseudocodes, we will just consider that the index values are starting from 1. So in order to extract this t here, I have to use a built-in function. The list of built-in functions is given in the insert that's attached with your question papers, okay? So the built-in function that we can use, there are a lot of built-in functions that we can use for string manipulation. Basically, for string manipulation, we have to use these built-in functions. So the built-in function that I'm going to use is mid. So mid is a built-in function that takes three values as parameters. Parameters are just variables that can be passed through certain functions, and those functions will automatically take in their value. So the first parameter that's passed through mid is the string. This string was stored in the variable this string. So I am going to, we can name this variable anything. I just wrote this string here, but you can call it in string or whatever you find suitable. The second parameter for this mid function will be the starting value. This will be an integer. This string is a string, and the second value will be the starting value, which will be an integer, okay, which is going to tell us from which point are we supposed to extract the character. For example, if I have to extract t here, I'm going to add the starting value 1. If I have to extract 2 h, then I'm going to use the starting value 2. And the next, and so on, okay? And the third parameter will be the ending value. Till where am I going to keep on extracting? Do I have to extract t only? If yes, if I have to extract t only, so if I have to extract t only, then I'm going to add the starting value 1 and ending value 1. This will give me t. If I have to extract t and h, I'm going to add the starting value 1 and ending value 2. This is going to give me th. But if I want to extract the last word, tree, TREE. So I have to see from where this last word is starting. What is the index value of this? 6, 7, 8, 9. So tree is starting from 9. So the starting value will be 9. And how long, like till where am I going to extract it? 9, 10, 11, 12. So starting from 9, ending at 12, the result of this input will be the string tree here, okay? So it's going to give me a value tree. So this is how the mid function works. We can now see how we are going to extract each character from the string and then compare it with the value that the user has entered. User can enter any values, okay? From A to Z, the user can enter any value. So we need to see whatever the value that user has entered, does it come within our string or not? And if it does, if it occurs in the string, then how many times does it occur? So for this, I'm going to write an example pseudocode. We can do the declarations and the function headings or procedure headings later on, but right now I'm only going to start from the loop. Why do we need a loop? Because we have to extract every value. The example string has the length 12, but this can be in any string. It can have values till 100, till 200. So we cannot just check it manually every single time. So for that, we need a loop. So the loop I'm going to take is the for loop for index 1 to length. This length function is also a built-in function that will automatically calculate the length of the string. And for example, the length of this string is 12. So this loop will run 12 times. If the length of the string was 20, this loop will run 20 times. Okay, so now when I am done writing this loop here, I need to extract the character from the string. So first I'm going to extract the character, store it somewhere, and then I'm going to compare it with the value with the character that the user has entered, so that I can see whether the two characters match or not. If they do match, I am going to update my or increment my counter, because I need to count how many times does it occur, right? So I'm going to increment the counter that I have declared. Okay. So first, in order to extract my character, I'm going to write here mid this string, and I'm going to pass this variable here. Index, the variable that I declared for the loop, I'm going to pass it here. Instead of the integer value that I just explained previously, I'm going to pass this variable of the loop. Why am I passing this variable? Because index is going to be incremented every single time the loop is incremented. So the first time index will be 1, then when the loop runs the second time, index value will be 2, when the loop runs the third time, the index value will be 3. So the index will keep on changing after every single iteration. And I'm going to pass here 1. I'm passing 1 here because I need to extract only one character. I do not want to extract more than one character. So if I have to extract one character, I have to pass 1 here. If I wanted to extract more than one character, then I will pass the number of characters I need to extract. So after writing down this function, whatever the result of this function is, for example, if this function is giving me the return value of t, I need to store that t somewhere, right? So I am going to store it in a variable called um, this character. So whatever the result of this function is will be stored in this character. Now I need to see if this character, the one that I have extracted, matches the character that the user has entered, which I can just name user value. So if these two values are equal, then I can just increment the counter here. Count. If these two values are not equal, then I can just end the function, or we can just continue the pseudocode according to the requirement of the scenario. Okay, if we have to return any value, we can just return a value here. If we need to check for any other values, we can do that. But like after this, we are going to discuss some scenarios from the past papers, but the basic concept of string manipulation is to use built-in function to manipulate the string, to extract the characters, to make a new string, to trim the string, okay, for certain values. So basically, for string manipulation, we need to extract or look at the string character by character. We cannot just compare the character with the string directly. This kind of method is usually mostly used in password checking. For example, if we are generating a password for our email addresses or for any account that we are making. And the requirements are that your password must be at least eight characters long, and it should have a numbers, it should have an alphanumeric value. So in order to check if the password that the user has entered contains all these requirements, we need to look at it by extracting every single character and see and check if that character is an alphabet or a number or any alphanumeric value. So we will be discussing questions, the past paper questions shortly, and I will be explaining the built-in functions as well. Okay. So before we start with the past paper questions, let's just discuss a few built-in functions that are already present in the insert. The first one, I already explained the mid function previously. So the first one is the left function. So the left function will only take two parameters. One will be a string, and the second one will be the number of uh, characters that we need to extract. So if we have the string, this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? So this is the string, and in the integer as a parameter, they have passed the value 4. So that means that this function will start extracting from the left side A, B, C, D, and it will extract the first 4 integers. So the result of this function will be a string in double inverted commas, not a character, A, B, C, D. If we pass 4, if we pass 2, then it will be A, B, and so on. The right function will do the same thing as the left function, but it will extract the letters from the right hand side. For example, if I pass 4 in the right function, then it will extract 4 characters from the right hand side. So the answer will be E, F, G, H. Uh, I explained the mid function in the previous lesson. And now we have a length function. Length function will just take a string as a parameter, only one parameter, and it will just count the number of characters or integers or the length of the string, and then it will just return that value. So if the string is happy days, it will start counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will also count the space character 7, 8, 9, 10, and it will return 10 as the integer value. Then we have LKS. LKS stand for lowercase. It will take character as an input. There are two built-in functions for this, okay? One is LKS and the other one is to upper or to lower. Okay, LKS is for LKS is for lowercase, and to lower is also for lowercase, but LKS is used when we have to convert a single character. For example, I want to convert X to lowercase. So I have to use L case. So if I pass this character X in this function, it will return a small x. And then for U case, again, U case is used for characters. Then if I have to convert the whole string into lowercase, then I have to use to lower for strings. So always remember L case and U case are for characters. And two upper and two lower are for strings. Then we have a built-in function called number to string. So it will just take an integer or a real value as a parameter, and it will convert it to a string. For example, if I pass 37, it will convert it to a string by adding these two inverted commas here so that we can consider this a string. So always remember you cannot compare two different data types with each other. If I have to compare a string and a number, then I have to convert either the number to a string or a string to the number, okay? So always make sure that your whatever values that you are comparing are in the same data type. Then we have string to num. So it will just convert any number, any string, for example, 24.7, and it will just convert it to a number. But if you want to convert it to an integer number, then you have to use an int function, which is also a built-in function. So it will convert it to 24. So then we have is num will check whether the string we want to convert is a number or not. Because what if the string was A, B, C, D and I pass this string, because this is a valid string, right? So if I pass this string A, B, C, D through this function string to num, it will not be converted to a number value because this is not a number. So we need to check first whether the string that we are passing is a num or not. So if I pass this A, B, C, D through this function is num, the answer will be false. So is num is a built-in function that will just give me a Boolean value as a result. It will tell me whether the string that I have passed is a number or not. Then we have ASCII characters. ASCII built-in function ASC will just give you the ASCII value of any character that you pass through it. For example, if I pass B, it will return 66, which is the ASCII value of B. If I pass A, then it will just give me 65, which is the ASCII value of A. So if you need to find out the ASCII value, you have to use this built-in function. Then we have CHR. CHR function uh, is the opposite of ASC, ASCII characters. For example, if I pass any valid integer number through CHR, it will give me the character that's associated with it. For example, if I pass 66 through this, it will return B. Or if I pass 65, it will return A. But we need to make sure that the number that we are passing through it is associated with any character. If we pass 2 or 3, and what if it's not associated with any character, it will not return any value. So that's it for the built-in function. Always make sure that you go through the insert properly first and then start with your paper so that you can see which built-in functions are available in the insert and which built-in functions you can use. So now let's just start with the past paper questions. So now let's just look at this question where they're asking us that a procedure count vowels will be called with a string as a parameter value. So that string that will be passed through this can have any value that the user enters. It can be A, B, C, D, E, F, or happy days, or anything that the user passes through it. So what we need to see is that whether the string that the user has passed or that the user has entered contains any vowels in it, whether it has A, E, I, O, or U. If it does, then we need to count how many times does A appear, how many times does E appear, then I, O, U. So we have to check for the vowels first, and then we have to count the number of times they appear as well. For example, in the first string, A appears one time and then E appears one time as well. There's no I, O, or U. And in the second example, A occurs two times and there is no E, I, O, or U. So the answer should be that the number of times A occurs is 2 and the number of times the rest of the vowels occur is 0. Then we also have to find out how many times the other characters except the vowels occurs in this string. So in order to check for the vowel A, as I explained previously, that if I have to match a character, because A is a character right now, I cannot compare it with the whole string. Why? Because this is a character and this is a string. So this is a data type mismatch. So what we need to do first is that we need to extract this string character by character, and we need to match the character that we are extracting with our vowels. So first we'll check for A, then E, then I, then O, and then U. So there are two solutions for this question. Either we can use the if statements to check, or we can use case statement. I will explain both the solution, case statements and if statements. We also have a 1D array character count, char count, that will store the number of times the character occurs, and this array is already declared, so we don't have to declare it. They're saying that each count value will be stored in a unique element of a global 1D array char count of type integer. The array will contain 6 elements. Okay, so that means that this array is already declared and we do not have to declare it. So now let's just write the procedure. Start with a procedure heading. Procedure, count vowels, and it will be called with a string as a parameter. We can name the variable that we are passing through it, the parameter in string, and the user, whatever value is of the string, will be passed through this parameter. And the data type of this in string is string. So this is a procedure. It will give us an output and it will not return a value because this is not a function. So I'm going to leave this space here, because if I have to declare any variable here or declare anything here, then I'll just use this space. So now first, let's just start with a for loop, because I need to extract for index 1, 2, the length of in string. So I want to extract all of the characters one by one. Okay. Now I am going to this extract the character and store it in the variable this character. So for extracting, I will use the mid function that I explained previously. So in string will be passed through it, and then I will pass index here, and then 1, because I only need to extract one character. So I just want to pass 1 through this. Now here I can use cases, or I can use if statements. So first I will use cases here. So I'm going to write case of. So this, the character that I'm extracting from in string is being saved in this variable, this character. So I am going to check whether whatever character that was extracted is a vowel or not. Now let's see if it is an A. If it is, then I need to increment the array, because the count of this will be stored in the array, no? Char count. So on the first index of char count, I will store the count for A. if A exists. In order to access an array, I need to use these square brackets. And if the character is A, then we'll just increment the count. Then we need to check if the character is E. Sorry, I just wrote B here. I need to check whether the character is E or not. Char count. On the second index, I will keep the count for E. Then I will check for I, then O, and then B. On the third index will be the count for I, then O. On the fourth index, I will keep the count of O. Then on the fifth index, I will keep a count for U. And I wrote 1 here. And then if there are other characters other than A, E, I, O, U, so I'll just add otherwise here. So this is the main part of the main logic of the code. But there is one issue here. The issue is whether the string that was passed, for example, if the user passes I love mangoes, right? So here I is capital. I is a vowel and I is capital. But here I am checking for small I, for a lowercase I. And in the string, this is an uppercase I. So even if I exist, this code will not count it. Why? Because I haven't converted it to same case. For example, if I'm checking for small I, then this should be in small letter as well. If I am going to check for capital letters, then both should be in capital letters. So basically the cases for both the characters that I'm checking should be the same, because programming languages are case sensitive. So we need to make sure that the letters that if I'm checking for small I, then I need to check for a capital I as well. Or what I can do is that I can add the function L case here. So that means whatever character I am extracting, if I'm extracting I, then it will be converted to a small I, and then there won't be any issues. So both of the characters will be in the small case. Otherwise, I need to check for a capital letter as well. So this is the main logic of how we are going to check for characters. Now, let's just end this loop, end case. And then next index, and N4. Now a loop is closed. And now let's just, because I want to output or whatever I have counted here. So I will just use a loop for index 1 to 6. I will output the character count. Next index, and then end for, and we have an end procedure here. So first, I extracted a character from this, and after extracting the character, I compared it with whatever was required in the question. So now in this part, the only variables that I used are this character and index. So I'm going to declare these characters here. Declare this character as character and declare index as integer. Oh, and one more thing that we can do with this is the complete code for the required question. Okay. But one more thing we can do is that we can make sure that our array was initialized to 0 first. So before starting with this for loop, I can write another for loop above this, and then I can initialize all of the indexes of this array to 0, so that I'm like 100% sure that there was nothing else other than 0 on in the arrays. So that will not affect our count. Okay. Now let's just look at the same question and solve it using if statements instead of cases. So instead of cases, if I just write here, if this character equals A, then char count equals to index 1 equals to char count and else if I will increment the second index. And so on. So instead of cases, we can also use if statements as well. Uh, Whatever you choose is correct. You can get marks for cases as well as if statement. With cases just makes it easier. If statement, you'll have to keep on writing it separately. So both the solutions are correct. Okay. Now, okay, now let's just look at another question. So this question, in this question, we have to write a function called getNum. So a procedure, previously we just wrote a procedure. A procedure always gives us an output, and a function will, instead of giving an output, it will just return a value. So this function getNum will take two parameters, a string and a character, and then it will check how many times that particular character exists in the string that was passed as a parameter. So in order for us to check whether this character exists in a string, what we need to do is we need to extract the string character by character. So we are going to write here, oh, sorry, this was a function, not a procedure. Function get num. It will take two values as parameter and should be in string as a string, comma, this character as a character. And because this is a function, so it will return a value. And what kind of value will it return? It will return the count. So the count will be an integer value. So we can write here returns count. Oh, sorry, returns integer. You have to write down the data type that it will return. So returns integer. Return an integer. Okay, so now let's just start with the program, the code, the main code. I'll just leave this space here for if we need to declare anything, and I'll start with the for loop because I need to go through the whole string. So 1 to the length of the in string. Then I will check if this like mid in string index 1 is equals to this character. If they are equal, then I'll just increment the count. So I have to write here count. And if next index and for, and I will return the value here, return count and end function. So this code was quite easy. We just had to extract the string character by character and check whether the character exists in that string or not. And I have used the variable count here and index, and I'll just declare these here. So declare count, because both the variables count and index have the same data type, so I can just declare them together instead of declaring them separately. their data type is integer. So I've just declared these two together. Okay. Okay. So now let's just solve one last question. In this question, they are saying that we have to make a new string, a function make string that will take two parameters, a count and a character. So for example, and pass it through the function make string. So for example, the count is 3 and the character is z, it will return z 3 times. If the count is 4 and the character is b, then the output should be b 4 times. Okay. So we have to write this function and it will return, obviously it will return a string. So function make string, it will take two parameters, a count as integer and this character as count. And it will return a string. Again, I'm going to leave the space here in if we need to make any declaration. And also in this question, they are saying that it will return the string generated or return error if the count is less than 1. Count can be 0, count can be -1, -2. So if the count is less than 1, then it should return error. So it's easy for us if we can just check for the error condition first, and then we can check for we can create the rest of the string. So what I can do here is that I'll just leave the space here for declaration. And if the count is less than 1, then it should return error. I'll just create a variable new string and I'll assign error to it. I'll declare this new string at the end. Then if the count is not less than 1, then I'll just initialize this string here and assign it an empty value. This is an empty value. And then I will write, because I need to make sure that the character occurs the number of times uh, according to the count value. Okay. So for index 1, 2, count. So if the count is 3, this loop will run 3 times. If the count is 4, this loop will run 4 times, or 5 or 6. And then new string, new string, and this character. So what this will do is that, for example, the character is a new string. Uh, for example, if the character is a, the new string was empty initially. So this will concatenate this empty with a and it will store a here. Then when the loop will run the second time, This will already have an A, another A will be present in this character, and this A will be concatenated with the first A, and two A's will be stored in new string. Then when the loop will run the third time, again this character will already has A, this has two A's, so now this new string will have three A's concatenated together. So if the count was three, then this loop will run three times. And then I'll just add next index here. It's not necessary that you write end for, but just in case, write it so that it shows that the loop ends here. And for, and then at the end, I'm going to return new string and then end function. Now the only variable that I have used here is index and new string. So I'll be declaring, because index and new string have different data types, I'll declare them separately. Declare index as integer and declare new string as string. So this is it for the code. So this is how we have to solve questions related to string manipulation. So in string manipulation, make sure that you are extracting the string first and then comparing it. Or in order to make a new string, again, you have to extract it. You can use left, right, mid, whatever suits the scenario. So string manipulation is not a very difficult topic. You just need to understand that in order to manipulate or in order to perform any sort of actions on string, you need to either trim them or you need to extract them character by character using built-in functions, and you need to make sure that whatever you are doing has the same data type. So data types matter a lot. So this is it for string manipulation. In the next topic, we will be discussing files.